going to be on training frequency. I was like, you know, what should we talk about today? I was like, let's talk about let's talk about training frequency. So let's get into that, right? So training frequency, how frequently should you train? You know, I'll tell you what, when I first started getting into bodybuilding, I mean, I can remember reading Flex magazine. I can remember reading, you know, Muscle and Fitness, and you know, it was crazy stuff. But you would get the bro split. So it's like, all right, Monday I train chest and back. Monday chest, Tuesday back, Wednesday arms, Thursday legs. You know, etc. Like train everything once a week, right? And then repeat, and that's how you get huge. Well, what's the case? Should you train, you know, everything once a week? Is that ideal? Well, there was actually a study that came out in Journal of Strength Conditioning Research, and the majority of bodybuilders actually had a traditional training split where they were hitting every body part like once a week. So if the majority of bodybuilders are doing it, is that what's ideal? Well, it doesn't seem that that's the case. So let me start this, okay? Research basically showed, they've done, first I need to emphasize this, that training frequency, okay, is not the same as training volume. Okay, they're two separate things. And let me explain what I mean by that. Training volume is how many sets I do per week. Simply put. Training frequency is how many times I train a body part per week. Volume, and they're related, but they aren't the same. So for example, if I normally do 20 sets for legs one time a week, and then I do 20 sets for legs 3 times a week, sure, I've tripled my volume. But in reality, I could also do 10 sets on Monday, 5 sets on Wednesday, and 5 sets on Friday. Volume was the same, but frequency was different. So the original research that was done on training frequency, what they basically did was they did that. They took equal volume and divided it up. So one of the first studies was published in Journal of Strength Conditioning Research, and when they basically had people take their training volume. So say you did 9 sets of arms on Monday. One group did 9 sets of arms on Monday. The other group did 3 sets Monday, 3 sets Wednesday, and 3 sets Friday. Same training volume. They saw when they split that volume up, they got more strength when they did 3 sets Monday, Wednesday, Friday. More recently, actually Brad Schoenfeld did research where he did the same thing, and he found that when you split volume up, equal volume, but you split it up, so again, 9 arms Monday or 3 Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they got more hypertrophy when you split the volume up throughout the week. So basically, the concept there is that splitting up training volume from 1 day a week to 3 days a week, equal volume, higher frequency, you get more hypertrophy and strength gains. Now, the question becomes like, what if I were to take training volume instead of doing it 3 days a week, split it up to 6 days a week? Well, they actually did that. They did that. They call it their Norwegian frequency study. And basically what they ended up doing was, this was out of Rostad's lab, and it was Ronstad in Norway, Norwegian Institute of Sport. They took elite powerlifters, and basically they were squatting, deadlifting, and benching 3 times a week. And they had them squat, bench, deadlift 6 days a week, but equal volume. So again, if it was like 6 sets Monday, Wednesday, Friday, they did 3 sets Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Turns out that the group that split the training volume up Monday through Saturday got the most gains in hypertrophy and strength, right? So this is crazy stuff. By the way, if you guys are on Facebook, share the love. Share. This is crazy. This is breakthrough stuff. So basically, so if you, the take-home message is like when you go from 1 day to 3 days, to 3 days to 6 days on a body part, you keep getting increases in size and strength. But the key thing on that is they maintain the same volume but divided it up into every single day. Now the next question is, what about 2-a-days? If I trained, for example, chest in the morning, what if I trained it morning and night? Well, there was a study by Hackett in the 90s, and basically what Hackenden's lab did was they took elite weightlifters and they basically had them, they watched their training volume, and because they were elite, over like 2 months time, they didn't make any gains. All they did was take that training volume and divide it to morning and night sessions. So again, if I'm doing 10 sets of squats in the morning, I go 10 in the morning, 10 at night. And guess what happened? Excuse me, 5 in the morning, 5 at night. Guess what happened? They increased muscle mass and they increased strength, right? So that was freaking awesome. By the way, Danielle says, "Can I be a part of your studies?"
Hit it up. Depends on the next one. Email.
We'll send an email out for people who are interested in that and internships a little bit. But Andrew Barnier will type that in, Danielle. If you're in Tampa, we got a lot of studies going on. So, take-home message is basically that distributing your volume out, basically over several training sessions, does lead to more hypertrophy and more strength. But I want to leave a caveat to that. You will adapt to anything. There's a biological law of accommodation. And accommodation means if we continue to do the same thing over time, we get a less response to that. So for example, if I do 3 sets of bench and I haven't trained before, I might get gains to that. If I do 3 sets of bench every single workout, I will stop making gains to that. So if I go from 1 to 3 sessions a week, equal training volume, and then I go from 3 to 6, but I keep training 6 days a week, every body part, I'll adapt to that too. Notice though, my volume's lower each training session. What were to happen if all of a sudden I'm now used to 6 days a week training three sets every workout? What would happen if I all of a sudden did 2 workouts a week, and instead of 3 over 6 times, now I'm breaking that up, or I'm hitting 9 or 18 sets a workout again. Now I'm no longer used to that high volume, and I will adapt again to that, okay? So that's the point. The main point that we're basically trying to get across to you guys is that, when you do low volume, high frequency, you'll adapt to that. So now go back to low frequency, high volume. So periodize your training frequency, and that's something we're looking for in the lab. So that's kind of the lesson today. I think it was Byron James asked for an autograph. Dude, come on by ASPI, absolutely. Or if I see you at the Arnold Classic, which I'm going to be there in March, come up and say hi. We'll catch up. I'll hit that up. Now, let me summarize this up, guys. Basically, the lesson is this, okay? Training frequency is how many times you train a body part per week, right? Volume and frequency are not the same thing. Volume's how many sets and reps you do over a given week. Frequency is how many times you train a body part per week. You can take an equal amount of volume, distribute it out throughout the week, temporarily leads to more hypertrophy and more strength gain. So if I'm doing 1 day a week, 18 sets, 6 days a week, 3 sets per day is going to give you more gains. Not everyone has the ability to train 6 days a week, but if you're only training once a body part, split it up into 2 days. If you can afford 3 days, split it up into 3. If you're going high frequency, low volume, after you've done that for like 4 weeks, cycle back around to low frequency, high volume, and then when you're used to that again, spread it out, okay? So, okay guys, that's it for that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and take your questions. For those guys who are just tuning in, share this with as many people as possible. Share the love, this is a community. And for those also just tuning in, definitely follow us on Snapchat, especially tomorrow, because Generation Iron 2 is going to be filming here. They're coming around 4 p.m. Eastern, but actually earlier, and then we're going to be talking a lot with the athletes, like Reed and Grimes and other professionals, and let's get to it.
How many
questions?
You want that one?
Yeah, I'll take.
Okay.
Exercise cycling.
Let's go here. Okay. Yeah, guys.
So also on DNA testing and blood work for body composition.
I mean, I think that that genetic testing is definitely moving in the right direction, but it's not going to tell you everything.
How many times a cycle of 4 weeks should you apply to blood flow restriction?
In 4 weeks' time, you could apply blood flow restriction probably up to 8 to 12 times max. So 2 to 3 times a week.
Positive or negative, eat before bed?
It depends on your goals, but I would say like if you're trying to gain muscle, eating before bed could be beneficial. If you're doing intermittent fasting, a longer fasting period could be beneficial for body fatness. Someone said they're hungry at night. What do I do? I think one thing that you could do is try intermittent fasting. So maybe fast until like 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon, or maybe even 2. And then now you have more calories for the nighttime. So if you tend to be hungry at night, that's okay.
What's the optimal training volume?
Optimal training volume, honestly, it depends on your genetics and how advanced you are. If you look at Matt Ray's research, if you're untrained, you can get gains of 1 to 3 sets per body part. When you're highly trained, you're talking about anywhere from 8 to 16 sets per body part. But even that should be cycled. So if you're doing a hypertrophy day, maybe that's 16 sets. If you're doing a heavy day, maybe that's 8 sets. So you want to basically, you're not going to have high volume days every single workout. So I would stratify that. Maybe one workout's 16, the next one's 12, the next one's 4, so you can back off and recover. So full body may be the way to go. Pink Gain says. I would say this. It depends. So Pink, if you're wanting to like make everything grow, then full body high frequency works. If you're like me, like my legs respond to training very well, but my shoulders don't respond as well. So I might train my shoulders every single day while everything else is normal frequency, right? So you can always use that size principle. But if you're just like, hey, I just want overall growth, then yes.
Training on keto, should you do differently?
Training on keto, should you train differently? No. Can you please talk about what you said once about developing insulin resistance when working out with heavy loads? Okay, so that's Carla Percio. Good question. Basically, Carla, when you cause muscle damage, you temporarily have insulin resistance. So if I do like a very heavy workout with a lot of eccentric loading, that's not going to be my carb up day. I'm going to focus more on higher protein that day, healthy fats, lower carbs. Okay? Whereas more like on my metabolic training days, where I don't have as much heavy weights, my reps are higher, my rest periods are shorter. Those would be higher carb days because you're more insulin sensitive. Are there factors to recovery that don't involve protein synthesis? If so, how are they optimized? Absolutely, there's factors that don't include protein synthesis mentally. You have to think about this for a second. Like training centrally, you have a load. It's not just peripheral. It's not just your muscle. Your nervous system has a load. And when you go to, basically, your nervous system gets mainly taxed when you lift very heavy weights and when you go to failure and when you go beyond failure, like force reps. That will take a long time to recover from. How do we recover from this? One is going to be sleep. You need to basically focus on your sleep. So you need to have a good sleep regimen, and we'll talk about that actually in I think 2 weeks from now. 3 weeks. You need to basically be mentally sound, which means that you need to be able to reappraise things. So if you have a high stressor in your life, don't think about that stressor as like it's the end of the world. Think it's just one step that I need to surpass. If it's a type C priority in your life, and you feel like, if you look at your plate and you're like, oh my God, I have all these things on my plate. What is a type A priority? It means what has to be done. What's a type B priority? It's nice to be done. What's a type C priority? It's just like be nice to be done, but I don't have to. For example, right now I'm prepping to do the Generation Iron filming. Everything that's a type C priority is gone the next couple days because I'm filming. Can't do it. In reality, everything that's like not a type A priority, e.g. Generation Iron, is probably going to be off my plate. So, and I accept that and move on. So mentally, you got to be straight. Obviously, your support community is going to also help you.
FitCon Utah. You gonna be there?
FitCon Utah, I will be at their Veracity. Veronica Channel says, hi, Dr. Wilson. What's up, Veronica?
MCT and coffee?
Should I have MCT and coffee if I train at 5 a.m. and don't have time to eat? Yeah, I'd have MCT and coffee, and I'd have some BCAAs as well. Good question, Josh. Nice last name.
Can a 13-year-old in puberty start with weight training?
Yeah, Johnny, I do think that a 13-year-old should lift weights, and I'll tell you why. Because you should focus on form. So you need to work on the motor pattern when you're talking about lifting. Your main focus is not lifting heavy. It's working on the pattern, working on flexibility, working on the mechanics of that lift. So we absolutely get into it.
Full body workouts.
So referring to what you are saying, it seems like full body workouts several days a week might actually be a good way to achieve. Yeah, that's actually the study did that. So again, if your goal is just overall growth and strength, full body is great. If you're using priority principle, like say your delts are lacking, then just train those high frequency and have everything else normal. Andy just put up A. Barninger at the ASBI.com. If you're on Facebook, A. Barninger at the ASBI.com. For internships. What are the lowest, and by the way, internships, we do take on a lot of different, we take people who are interested in sports science, but we also take on people who are interested in marketing. If you guys have a talent for graphics, photography, guys, there's so many things. You know what? What's that?
Time management.
Time management. Yeah, time management for Andy and I. Basically, Andy and I, we wake up like, all right, what are we doing today? Earlier today, it was like we were with our COO, and he's like, hey, yeah, so do you have a spreadsheet open? I'm like, I don't even know what a spreadsheet is. So anyway, yeah, but the thing is, guys, we have one goal, and it's on the wall. We want to change lives. I want to change lives with science and innovation, not just science. Innovation, okay? So changing lives through science and innovation.
You gotta do this. You need to do the Instagram. Instagram's probably curious. Bro.
Okay, yeah. So that's on our board behind. Every time I wake up, I see that sign. When I walk in a facility, I realize that our goal is to change lives. And so innovation is not just science. It could be graphics. It could be photography. It could be motivation. So if you have a particular talent that you feel that you could add to the facility, or you want to learn, write A. Barninger at the ASBI.com and he'll falter. So best advice to keep mass during contest prep. What reps and volume? I think, see, that's where I think training frequency is really great, because when you're tired, it's hard to train with this high volume in one period of time. Whereas before, 20 sets might be easy. When you're dieting, you might be worn out at 10. So now if you do 10 sets in the morning, 10 sets at night, you can maintain your strength. Okay. Go ahead.
Are keto strips or urine sticks a measurement of ketones not used by the body or level of ketones in the blood?
So keto strips are basically urine, obviously, and then basically in the blood is a measure of the blood. What the strips are measuring is called acetoacetate. And what's in the blood is the main circulating form in our blood, which is called BHB. Your urine is accurate at first, but the urine becomes less accurate after about a month of keto dieting. So at the beginning, it's great, it's cheap. After that, you'll need to get blood.
Carbs in the morning or introduce them later in the day?
I prefer later in the day for nutrient programming.
Amino acid sensitivity.
Lassie says, sup, Doc? What's up, my man? You talked about eating a lot of protein, 1.5 to 2 grams per pound of body weight. That it could make your body burn muscle if you eat less protein. How would you reverse this? Taper? Good question. Well, you want to think is that, like, basically when you taper back, you're going to want to basically spare that protein. So things like HMB become very beneficial when you cycle down. Because basically HMB prevents protein breakdown. So I recommend you cycle down using HMB. But also upping your fats, or if you're on carbs, maybe upping your carbs for a few days to prevent that breakdown.
So, Michael's on way. What if you feel adapted to both low volume, high frequency, and high frequency, low volume due to overuse of periodization, such as periodization by week? So, how do you stop that if you...
Great question. So, the thing is that that's Michael. Michael. Oh, Michael. Michael. Great question. That's a great question. So basically, Michael, to answer your question, frequency and volume are only two components of periodization. So if you've adapted to frequency and volume, change the exercise up, change the exercise selection up, change the rest period length up, change the repetition speed up, right? Use different modalities, introduce blood flow restriction, introduce force negatives, intraset stretching. So the point is that there are several tools, and that you basically want to shift the entire makeup of that training session to where you're utilizing exercises you've never used before and in angles that you've never used before. So if you were to ask me what the number one thing you could do to keep growing, I would say changing exercise selection to things that you have not faced before.
Need a full-time
keto.
Andy, slide in.
Well, we do have one. But
if anybody's a food science intern,
yeah,
Wait, talk to
you'll
both
work
cameras.
with Andy.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I'll jump back here.
Instagram's curious.
So if anybody has a background in food science, we are looking for interns.
Yeah.
But I do have a background in culinary and food science. So
Summa cum laude, baby.
yep.
Andy and I, we're not organized. We don't use Excel spreadsheets, but both of us are summa cum laude. Top 1%.
Okay, I hear. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
What if the intensity of your workouts is Dorian Yates style? Not like him, obviously he is one of a kind. But in that case, should I train the same muscle 2 times? Great question, Alfonso. So for you guys who don't know Dorian Yates had maybe the biggest back in the history of the sport. Really changed the sport as far as pushing the size barrier to a whole new level. When Dorian was going, in fact, you had Lee Haney, who was a monster, and then Dorian Yates coming out, battling him head to head, the golden age truly of the modern era of bodybuilding. Well, anyway, Dorian was a proponent of very heavy lifting, very low volume. Now, the thing to understand about Dorian, though, is Dorian got a lot of injuries, tore a lot of muscles, and you have to understand there's a price that gets paid with lifting that heavy. Ronnie Coleman, same thing. Ronnie Coleman had to have a lot of surgeries. So for longevity's sake, if you can train like that every workout, but you have to realize that you're going to take a toll. You will get injured. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. To avoid that, I would recommend having some heavy lifting, but make it 1/3 of your training. And throw in light days and moderately heavy days, okay? So my thing is, no, don't lift like that ever with high frequency, maybe once a week. And do it carefully and warm up and make sure that, your core or posterior chain are developed, that you're flexible. And that's my advice for that.
Intermittent fasting.
Tim Sanchez, what's up, Tim, says, if doing intermittent fasting, should you still do 2-a-days, even though the first lift would be on an empty stomach and not eating until... I don't think so, Tim. I think that the days that you're doing 2-a-days, at minimum, you should maintain protein balance in the morning, right? So I'm doing 2-a-days today, but I like intermittent fasting. So this morning I kind of just maintained protein balance and had I had 4 eggs this morning because I'm low carb, but it's only 220 calories, so it wasn't a lot. But I know at least my muscles can grow and respond.
Are you going to FIBO Germany this year?
Oh, good. Who was that? FIBO. Dante or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Dante, I haven't been invited to FIBO Germany, but you never know. I mean, our COO Sam sometimes says, "Hey, you're gonna go to Brazil or England or something like that." So you never know, man. I've always wanted to go to Germany. My grandfather's from Germany, so I'd like that.
If I don't join
William
the club, man.
William Wallace. William Wallace. If you don't grow, is there any point to training? Hey, man, look, I've been asking myself that a long time. I keep training. All right, good question. Be the best that you can be. That's going to be my answer to that question. I think the most important thing is, what about the full muscle recovery time? So again, that's going to be dependent on volume, Roy, right? So if you're getting stronger and bigger, you're recovering. The best way to monitor recovery is perceived recovery status scale. So basically, you want that scale 0 to 10, how recovered am I? And you don't want to fall below 7 ideally, definitely not below 6. So if your frequency or volume's too high where you start falling 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's a problem. You need to back off.
If I'm taking whey protein with BCAAs in it, would it benefit me to use a leucine supplement?
BCAAs technically is a leucine supplement because leucine's usually in there at a 2 to 1 ratio of isoleucine and valine. So having a isolated leucine supplement on top of that would not be beneficial.
Why?
Because already in the BCAAs.
Boom.
Okay.
Yeah. Now some people might argue though about that point, but that's a whole other philosophical question.
Okay, one more question. 6 o'clock.
One more question. 6
Final
o'clock.
question.
Yeah, I've had so much fun with you guys.
IG.
Which one is 5x5 compound lifts the best way of putting on size and strength?
I do that all the time.
That's Matthew. So 5x5 is a great way to do it, but like anything else, if you continue to do that always, you'll accommodate. So Matthew, that as part of a periodized program is likely the best way to put on size and strength. Got it.